Hey, thank you so much for clicking on this video. My name is Kaylee, and this is a Read Rant Review, where, you guessed it, I read books and I do rant reviews. We are currently on a thriller kick for the month of October, and so we are reading yet another thriller. Today, it's going to be The Perfect Marriage by Jeneva Rose. Currently on Goodreads, this is sitting at a 3.98 with just over 1 million ratings. So we're going to talk all about it. I'm going to give you a chapter by chapter, beat by beat breakdown. We're gonna have some giggles because this book was absolute nonsense, in my opinion, clearly, obviously. So we're gonna have a good time and have some giggles, and I hope you stick around for it. And if you're listening to this over on Spotify, hey, so glad to have you. Now, before we begin, I do just have the same 3 disclaimers that I have in all of my videos. The first one being, this will obviously contain all of the spoilers. The second being, this is not for Jeneva, right? It's not for the author. It's not for friends, fans, family, stans, anything of the like. If you loved this book, I love that for you. Say it with me. Don't make it weird. Please, for the love of God, that's all I ask. And then the third disclaimer is a content or trigger warning that I like to put on my videos so that you know what we're getting into. But if you've been sticking around for this series, I'm not doing it for this particular one just because I think a lot of that kind of has to go with the thriller genre. A lot of the like shock factor part of it is like part of the genre in and of itself, you know what I mean? So if you are concerned in any way, I do recommend you looking that up. Your discretion is advised. And I think that's all I got. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's all I have. So I'll go ahead and read you the book description and we'll dive right in. Oh, and also this book was published in 2020, July of 2020. Interesting. So, book description. Would you defend your husband if he was accused of killing his mistress? Sarah Morgan is a successful and powerful defense attorney in Washington, D.C. At 33 years old, she is a named partner at her firm, and life is going exactly how she planned. The same cannot be said for her husband, Adam. He is a struggling writer who has had little success in his career. He begins to tire of his and Sarah's relationship as she is constantly working. Out in the secluded woods at Adam and Sarah's second home, Adam engages in a passionate affair with Kelly Summers. Then one morning, everything changes. Adam is arrested for Kelly's murder. She had been found stabbed to death in Adam and Sarah's second home. Sarah soon finds herself playing the defender for her own husband, a man accused of murdering his mistress. Hey, how many times am I going to repeat the exact same paragraph to you? Good God, that was not concise. But is Adam guilty or is he innocent? In, in the prologue. Hey, I just told you the first like 4 chapters of the book with the freaking book description. I hate that crap. But the prologue, and this way you get a feel for the writing if the book description was not indicative of the level of quality that we're getting into. Did he love her? He loved the way she looked at him, the way her bottom lip trembled and her foot quaked when he loved the way her long chestnut locks fell in front of her doe eyes as she did a bunch of really inappropriate things that I'm not going to read out loud on the internet. Did he love her? He loved parts of her. But the question isn't whether or not he loved her. The question is, did he kill her? Hey, what was the point of that? So often I found myself asking in this book, hey, what? Why? Hello? Like constantly. I don't even want to read you these other things that I have highlighted because it's like, oh, this is actually hilarious. I have a chapter 1 highlight and then a chapter 38. We skipped a lot. Because it's so just like not good. It's not, and I we're starting off heavy. I'm not setting a very good tone for this, and I understand that. But it's not like good quality writing. There wasn't any point where I was like, oh my God, I have to tell you guys like this specific thing that they said, like this really, you know, did it for me or something, I guess would be the phrasing that I'm trying to search for here. There was no moment where I was like, wow, what a literary genius. And even I feel like I do that in every book, right? I try to find the good in these books. And oftentimes I do. I did not here. So we're dealing with 64 chapters. Again, I don't know why these authors are trying to make me count that high. I will, in fact, not be doing an exact beat by beat. Like, I'm not going to be like chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, because I would lose my mind editing this. So I'll just do some like bigger swath summaries, and then I'll check in every now and then of chapter numbers, just in case you're curious or decide to go and read it on your own, or like, whatever. I don't know. And so, again, like the book description already freaking told us, We open up with Sarah and Adam Morgan. They are celebrating their 10-year anniversary. Yay! They're supposed to be going to their lake house and spending the weekend together. And she ends up bailing because she is, like we said, she's partnered lawyer at her firm. She's a big hot shot, and there's a really, really big high profile case that's going on that she needs to work on. And so she decides to stay back that weekend, and Adam goes by himself. We also, in the first like 2 chapters of their perspectives about her saying that she's unable to go, there's definitely some resentment going on between these two. Mostly the fact that she has always prioritized her work. And Adam, he had like 1 book that was successful. He's an author. He had 1 book that was like a literary, a commercial success or literary success by whatever standards. And then he's working on his next book. And that's really all he's done. And so he feels a little inadequate. She feels a little like he's not living up to his potential. He's, upset with her focus on work. She doesn't think he works hard enough. You get the vibe. There's some tension, there's some weirdness, there's some like kind of regret or regrets that are occurring, right? And so by the end of chapter 2, when Adam goes to the lake house, we're immediately introduced to Kelly, his mistress. She is a waitress at the local coffee shop that he met. Apparently, Sarah has only ever been to their like lake house thing once or twice in the last however long they've owned it. I think like a couple years now. She's only been there once or twice, and so he always goes by himself, which means he always goes to the coffee shop, and that's where he met Kelly. Hit it off. By the way, this doesn't get told till much later, but just so you understand the like level of like piece of crap that we're dealing with here, he literally slept with her the day that they met. The day that he met this barista, he had like 1 night away from his wife, and he decided, oh, okay. So there's a lot of description about what he and Kelly are up to that I don't want to detail for you. And when we cut back to Sarah's POV, she is busting her butt, right? She's working on this law case. She's working way late into the night. And her assistant, Anne, and I know I've said a lot of names. Don't worry, don't worry. I'll put a little name list up here in a second, okay? Anne is her assistant, has been her assistant for years. She considers her a friend. They oftentimes will go out to dinner after work or go and get drinks or just like vibe, whatever. And this is one of those nights where they go and do that. They go to the bar, they get a drink, they're hanging out, they're schmoozing, and they're up pretty late. Adam had decided that he was only going to go out to the lake house for that day, and then he was going to come back that night to he was going out there to work on his book, and then he was going to come back so he could spend the night with Sarah since she wasn't able to make it out there, right? However, after all of this stuff with with Kelly, he passes out. And so he wakes up at 4 in the morning, says goodbye to her, kisses her on the head. She's unresponsive to him when he's trying to shake her shoulder and wake her up and stuff. So he's like, man, the booze must have hit her really hard, kisses her. And then on the nightstand is her phone. And so he looks at it. And on her phone, she has a bunch of threatening messages from her husband, Scott. And this one weird message from somebody named Jesse that says, I'm sorry. Huh. Okay. Really, really threatening messages from the husband, by the way. I'm gonna end your life type messages, okay? Very, very violent messages here. So he's like, ugh, yikes, okay. Turns that off, puts that back down, and goes about his merry way, back home to his wife. When he gets into the house, she wakes up, and they look at each other, and then she's like, hey, I want to have a baby with you. And he's like, oh my God, this is literally everything that I have ever wanted. I wanted her to take me and our life seriously and to not think about work. This is exactly what we needed. And so then they bone. I'm like, this guy, never mind. Never mind. They try for a baby and then they go to sleep. And the next day we cut to in chapter 5, Sarah is back at work. She is in the middle of this big case that she was preparing for, right? So when we cut back to Sarah in chapter 5, she is working the following day. She's hanging out with Anna, and then there's a guy named Bob. He's one of the other partners in the company. He comes in and he ends up talking crap to her about using Anna as a personal assistant. And there's some kind of drama. There's a little bit of tension between her and Bob. There's a very clear rivalry that's going on and being established here. And then we're also introduced to her friend Matthew. What importance does he have for the plot or for anything? To be quite frank, he does, I think, 2 things for her in the book. And like one of them could have been done by her assistant, kind of, sort of. And so really he's just like the token gay character. I personally believe that that is the purpose that this man serves. So random friend Matthew, he gets introduced. They're all kind of like hanging out and chit-chatting and whatever. While she's doing this, having a merry time at work, getting stuff together, doing the final preparations because she has the court case later that day, Adam wakes up, again, super happy about the kid thing and really, really regretful about the stuff with Kelly and like how he knows that he needs to call it off. And in the middle of thinking about all of this, the police arrive and they say, hey, where were you last night? And do you know Kelly, I believe her last name is Summers? He tries to deny it, whatever. And they're like, well, she was stabbed to death in your lake house. So you're coming with us. And it gets pretty violent. Like the cops that arrest him are very brutal about it. And he kind of fights back. And there's like a little, like a knee to a face and like some violence there, which is interesting how quickly that escalates. And in the midst of all of this, he's like, no, it wasn't me. Her husband's abusive. Like her husband's so bad. Like she's told me about it a whole bunch. And I'll just tell you now, her husband is a cop. Like the people who are arresting Adam, it's Kelly's husband's partner, like on the force, and then Kelly's husband's boss, the sheriff. So these guys know her personally, know him personally. And so that's why this got like, was escalated so quickly. And also why they're like, shut the frick up. Like that's our guy, like blah, 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 I don't need to, we're not unpacking it. So Sarah, cut to her, middle of the case. She's doing great. She's kicking butt. She's obviously missing phone calls from Adam frantically trying to get a hold of her. And so instead, he calls his mommy. And he has the most like overbearing, controlling mommy son weird dynamic. Like, like the TikTok boy moms. 100%. That is what this woman is. And the embodiment of is like the TikTok boy mom, like weirdness. Okay. So she's like, don't worry, baby. I'll come and save you. Oh my God. Meanwhile, Sarah is celebrating the case. Her and Anna and Matthew, and they're just like hanging out, having a good time. And then she gets a phone call about her husband being arrested. She drops everything to get to the station to, see him or whatever. When she gets there, the cop like pulls her into one of the rooms beforehand. And he's like, hey, do you know Kelly? Like, this is what happened. This is what happened in your lake house. This is what we're concerned about. Like, WTF. And she's like, what do you mean? Who is that? Like, maybe that's the cleaning lady's name. I have no idea who Kelly is. What are you even talking about? And the guy pulls out like a bunch of photographs of the crime scene and just lays it out in front of this woman who, like, you're not even accusing of anything. You're like literally like not shock valuing, but trying to like shock her into like something. What? I don't know. Very weird. And also, I don't know why. Well, I guess there would be evidence that he was the one at the lake house, but why wouldn't they think that somebody just broke into the lake house? Why do they assume that it was Adam? Why, if he was home, maybe it was indicative of texts on her phone or something? Or, oh no, he left her a note. I think that's what it is. I think he left her a note about leaving. And so that's how they would have tied him to the crime scene. Okay, never mind. I sewed the plot hole together. There was no plot hole. It was me. My memory hole, rather. So anyway, she's like, oh my God, these crime scene photos, like, right, she wants to vomit, whatever. And then she's like, well, I'm my husband's lawyer, so put me in, coach, like, let me in and go and talk to him. And before they do, she's like looking at him through the, like the one-way glass, like observation room outside of the interrogation room. He is losing his mind. He's crying, he's sobbing, he's screaming, he's throwing chairs. Like, he is so incredibly violent. And Sarah is like, I never thought he would have been capable of a crime like this, but I've also never seen him act like that before. Like, that is alarming. And also, before she goes in there, because she is the lawyer, the sheriff gives her all of the information that they have thus far, being Kelly was stabbed 37 times. The cleaning lady is the one who found her. And then there's a toxicology report being ran, and there was 3 separate, not instances, samples, sources, that's not the right words. 3 different men's in her, right? So indicative that she had hooked up with or been with at least 3 men in the last however long, okay? Adds a couple extra layers of interesting there, mostly because assumably it's her husband and Adam, so who in the hell is this third person? Sarah says, okay, got it. That's a lot of information. Goes in there to talk to Adam. And he, regrets everything once he sees her because she's crying. And he's like, what have I done? How could I ever do this to her? Bada, 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 bada. But she pulls it together and, she's talking to him and she's like, tell me everything. And he does. And then he's like, I don't know why you're here and why you would help me and why you would do this, like why you'd be my lawyer after I've like betrayed you in such a way. And she says, because I'm the only one that can get you off. And I said, phrasing. Excuse me? So she's in the middle of talking to Adam, though, otherwise about like, how did you guys meet? And that's when he reveals the whole cafe thing that I told you about before. She didn't say it outright, but there were clear signs that her husband was abusing her or something. And so he had this like soft spot for her. And then they slept together this very first day that they met. And Sarah is like, okay, well, we can't prove that her husband was abusive in any way. Like, she never filed any reports about it. She didn't have any like bruising or anything on her body that would be indicative of anything like that. Like, it's literally just hearsay at this point, unless there's like some other evidence in some other way. But like at this moment, we have nothing, right? But if they can prove that, then that would sow like reasonable doubt. So like we can get you off the hook if we're able to do that, if we're able to prove that. Not prove, but like, you know what I mean? Give reasonable doubt. And so in the middle of this, speak of the devil, the freaking husband busts into the interrogation room and starts beating the shit out of Adam. And I'm like, how did we get here? And like, what do you mean? And so he beats him up so badly that Adam has to go to the hospital afterwards. I guess it's not even a small town. We're in DC. What do you mean? Well, who's running this place? So cut to Adam in the hospital in chapter 15. The sheriff is there, right? So we have like the husband guy named Scott, her like, I guess now widowed deputy husband guy named Scott. And then we have the sheriff. And I'll just call him the sheriff, okay? So the sheriff is visiting Adam in the hospital and he's like, hey, so like, what makes you think that Scott would do this? He explains, how Kelly had opened up to him and had said this to him. And he's like, well, she never said anything to us. And he's like, well, obviously, dummy, she's not going to tell the cops that their cop buddy is a prick. Like that's not how that works. What do you mean? And I'm like, but you don't have the text messages? Like, he saw some pretty incriminating text messages the night before. Can that not be used as proof? Can the fact that this guy just, like, flew off of the handle and, like, beat the ever-loving crap out of this guy, like, not unprovoked, but you know what I'm saying? Is that not indicative of, like, a violent thing that could be used against him? Like, I don't understand why there's so much, like, not belief about this. It's odd, but that's fine. Adam heals up enough in the hospital. He ends up back at jail, and I think he's just hanging out in jail until his hearing. So there's just some time that passes, nothing too crazy going on here. But Adam reflects how 2 weeks ago, Kelly had showed up with like a black eye and made a comment about how she doesn't think that she could ever get away from Scott, and the only way that she would be able to would be through death, which is so sad and absolutely horrifying sentiment. And then she also goes on to tell him that her real name is Jenna, that she was married before and used to live out of the state, I think in like Wisconsin or something. Lived in Wisconsin, had another husband. She came home one day to her husband stabbed to death. She ended up being charged with the murder, even though she says that she was innocent and that she didn't do anything. And ended up that the charges against her were dropped because the evidence got like messed up or something. And so it ended up just like not being able to be charged or like prosecuted or whatever. So she instead just like moved across the country and changed her name and just had like a little restart on life. And he was at the time, right, 2 weeks ago when he found out about this, he was surprised, but he's like, I don't love Jenna. I love Kelly. Okay. I love the support, I guess. The next bit we get in chapter 19 is from Sarah's POV, where she is establishing like the timeline and what was going on. And she ends up getting a visit from Eleanor, who is Adam's mom. And there's more tension, and Eleanor being like, well, he cheated on you because you're not a good enough wife. And all of this is your fault because like you weren't a good wife to him, and blah, 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 blah. Tension between the two of them. I don't know. I don't know. We'll talk about it more like throughout the book, but just weird beef there. And then she goes to the crime scene and she has to be supervised, right? As her husband's lawyer, she goes to the crime scene and she's supervised by the sheriff when she does so. So she's going through the scene. They find out like the toxicology report came back and she had tested positive for Rohypnol. And she asks if Adam was tested for Rohypnol. Sheriff says no. And then she says, okay, well, what about, like, did you test the decanter or anything in here? Like, do we think maybe something in here had the drug in it? He says, no, nothing did. She says, okay, interesting. And then she also finds out that Kelly was pregnant with Adam's child. And so it would mean that this would be a double homicide in the state of Virginia where they are, I guess, or something. I don't know. Also, still no idea who the third set of DNA is from. They ran it through the database and they can't find anything. Okay, interesting. There is a secret drawer in Adam's desk, and so she opens it, and this is usually where like a gun is kept. But not only is there a gun, there is also a photograph. It's kind of like one of those like grainy far away ones, but it's of Adam and Kelly kissing. And on it, it says, "End it or I will." Oh, so there's just like a threat. And so she takes this picture and then she like gives this to the sheriff or whatever. And she's like, this is like evidence, like somebody threatened him. Like this is, indicative that there's some other person at play here, like the third set of DNA, the mystery text message, this weird threat thing. Like obviously Adam didn't do it, right? Like it's just like building more and more of a case for her. My chapter 20, it just says read it. I hate when I do that to myself. I think I did that in like 3 separate chapters in this book. Hey, not helpful. No. Oh, the quote that I Jesus Christ, I forgot about this. The only reason I said could quote this was because it was just aggressive. So I guess they take the fingerprints off of this photo and then give it to her, or she gets a copy of it somehow that she's able to like bring it to Adam. So she goes back to the station. She shows him this and she's like, hey, what the heck? Why didn't you tell me about this? Like, why you didn't reveal this to me at some point? This would have been helpful to know. And he's like, oh yeah, I didn't even think about it. And then she has the pleasure to tell him that there was a third set of DNA. I'm saying that you weren't the only man she was cheating on her husband with. I'm saying you weren't special. I'm saying she was a whore. I said, Jesus Christ. And then on the note that he had left Kelly on the nightstand, it said, you're the words to a story I've been trying to write my whole life, and tonight I determined the ending. Because originally when he left that house, he was going to divorce Sarah, like finally leave Sarah to be with Kelly. Obviously that changed when then he got home and then she wanted a baby, because then he's like, oh no, now I have to call it off with you to be with you. Like this is so insane. But also, decided the ending could also be used directly against him as like threatening her life or indicating the like end of her life, And then the last, bomb that she gets to drop is the fact that Kelly was pregnant, and that if he does get convicted of double homicide, that he could face execution. And then she leaves because she's also pissed at him for everything that's going on, right? Like she's trying to be good at her job, not trying to be. She is being good at her job, right? She's trying to do the due diligence of it all, but also she's a very angry and hurt woman, but behind that. In chapter 21, Sarah had Anna run a background check, and then they're able to figure out all of the stuff that I just told you about Kelly's background. So much of this was like duplicative, and like I heard the exact same information from like one side, and then when the other side discovers it, and then a third time when the other side confronts the other side about the information. And I'm like reading the same sentences and the same ideas and like big wow moment 3 times over. You're really kind of killing the vibe. I'm not gonna lie. Kind of killing it for me. Kind of ruined any sort of like, oh my God, that I initially had. But what we do get from this, we do get one extra little tidbit of information, which did make me say, oh my God, was the fact that the arresting officer at Kelly's first husband's murder, the arresting officer, the guy who arrested her, was in fact Scott Summers, her like current cop husband, now widowed cop husband guy. Huh, that's interesting. So the idea, and I'll tell you now because it doesn't really like ruin anything, but the assumption or the belief or the like, oh, that's weird, is the fact that like the evidence that got messed up could have been intentional. If he was the first on the scene, maybe he and Kelly had worked something out and he had like covered for her, or intentionally messed up this evidence to have her get away with it, and then they ran across the country together. Just kind of weird, right? Like, just kind of a little suspicious little nugget to get introduced here. The next couple of chapters are just like more weird things with the mom and her just being an absolute jerkwad to Sarah. Who? Hello? Who am I talking about right now? Yeah, Eleanor, the mom, was being really mean to Sarah. Just more tension between the two of them. Adam is in his jail cell when, speak of the devil, Scott Summers appears and he sits with him and he's like, hey man, I want to talk to you. Like, I didn't hurt my wife. I never hurt her. I never abused her. When she showed up with that black eye, it was because we were doing like a home improvement project and I like accidentally elbowed her in the face. Like, it wasn't anything like that. I don't know why you would think that. And he's like, well, she says like, blah, 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 like you did all of this other stuff. And he's like, no, I never did. And also the whole Wisconsin thing was like her husband had been abusing her previously. And that's why like I ran away with her and like da 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 da. And he's like, well, that's not what she told me. You were holding it over her head. And Scott says, no, man, like it wasn't anything like that. Like it's a complete, like none of that is true. And the night that she died, I was with my partner, right? The one that initially arrested Adam. He's like, I was with him all night on duty. Like I was literally working. So I didn't do it. And I don't know if you did or not. You seem like you didn't really do it. So I don't know what the heck is going on. We're trying to have this little bro to bro moment when Sarah walks in and she is absolutely pissed that Scott was able to come in here and talk to him because Scott beat the crap out of him the other day, right? And she's like, this is weird and not appropriate, not good. She confronts him about the whole double identity of Kelly/Jenna. And he's like, yeah, I know. I didn't tell you about that either. And she's like, hey, I'm your lawyer. I'm trying to help you right now. Like, you have to be honest with me about this stuff. What are you doing? Like, why are you continuing to lie to me? Dummy. Dummies across the board in this freaking book. I was losing my gosh dang mind. So, she kind of berates him about this, right? She's really upset about it. And then she also goes on to tell him that she had talked to the DA and district attorney, right? So the one who's like arguing them in court, the other guy. And if Adam pleads guilty, then it'll just be 25 years in prison. But if he pleads not guilty, they'll have to go through the whole court thing and then he could get the execution. And so she's like, how do you want to do this? And he's like, well, I'm pleading not guilty because I didn't do it. She says, okay, fine. Let's press on then, I guess. So with that, Sarah goes to sit with her assistant Anne and her friend Matthew. They have a little get together and they decide what the next steps are, which is figuring out some witnesses, getting a list of names of potential like suspects or people who might have beef with Jenna/Kelly, which could be like her first husband's family. Like maybe they were getting revenge. Could be Scott. Could be, I don't know, something else. And so also we need her phone records. So we need to do all of that. We need to figure out who the heck had this photo, or who like submitted this threatening photo to, or gave this threatening photo to him. And lastly, who in the hell is this third set of DNA? Okay, great. We have a mid-book summary of the important plot points. I love that. Just beat me over the head with what's going on. Love that so much. They're preparing for the actual hearing. More beef between Sarah and Adam's mom, Eleanor, because Eleanor is telling Adam to get a new lawyer. It's like, again, really, really messed up, actually. The DA then has a new plea deal, which is 20 years without the possibility of parole if he pleads guilty. And Adam, yet again, says no. Like, I don't want to do that. And, you know, Sarah says that she's going to fight like hell to get him free. And so it'll be good. Like, okay, fine. No deal. Press on. Bail is set at $500,000 and Adam is under house arrest. And so they put him on house arrest in the lake house where Jenna died or was killed or whatever. Hey, so like, why would you want to do that? Why is he not on house arrest at the normal house? Is it because Sarah's still pissed off at him and so he's like banished to the beach house or the lake house? Why wouldn't he just go to his mom's house? Why would you go back to the scene of the crime? That just seems wildly like, that's how your ass gets haunted, dude. They ran fingerprints on the little note photo thing though, and there was no matches in the database. So the sheriff takes Adam and his mom to the lake house. The mom is going to stay with him at said lake house. Sarah then shows up shortly afterward to like also help get situated and stuff. And Adam's like, oh my God, I think the sheriff and my wife are a little bit too close. There's some weird tension between them. Is she cheating on me with the sheriff? Did she move on so quickly? Why is she offering him coffee? Why does he feel comfortable in my house? Why is she even here? Is there something going on between them? Hello? Again, what are you talking about, dude? And then Sarah leaves almost immediately after. And so then he's like super suspicious of her. Okay, I guess. So she ends up going to the coffee shop. Like she left so quickly because she was going to the local coffee shop where Jenna worked to, you know, scope it out, see any, not witnesses necessarily, but like, did she say anything in the last couple of days? Do you have any information? Is there anything weird going on? Like blah, 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 blah. She finds out that there was a regular named Jesse who was really, really creepy and always hit on her and is like really uncomfortable and like was borderline stalking her. So, perfect. And Jesse's the one that texted her that said, I'm sorry on the night of the murder. So now we're like getting some other stuff going on, right? Interesting. Adam is spiraling. Still thinking that maybe his wife is doing something with the sheriff, still just like getting a weird feeling in his gut that there's just like something not right going on. And like I said, the mom's there. She's just talking mad crap. And then all of a sudden, this girl named Rebecca shows up. What? Yeah, we're introducing another character to the list, okay? Rebecca says that she was an old student of his, right? He did English at the university or something. So she's like, hey, I was an old student of yours and I've looked into this case and I've been fascinated by it and I have all of this information. So tells him all the stuff that she already knows. And he decides that he's pretty much gonna like give her $5,000 to help him do research on his own case and like figure stuff out and like kind of work behind his wife's back on his own case. And Rebecca's gonna help him do that. But she's also like a reporter and that's part of it. And like the whole 5,000, that's part of like the thing is she'll get like exclusive stuff from him to be able to report on this. I don't know. I don't know why this woman got introduced. I do, but I also don't like, is that believable? You get some random woman showing up on your doorstep. I mean, this man is very clearly like begging for attention, and very clearly a sucker for attention from a woman. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe he's just like, oh, pretty young thing showed up. So like, let me just turn off my brain. I don't know, man. Sarah tries visiting him, but there's again just like more weird tension between her and Adam, obviously, because she's still upset about all this stuff that's going on. And so they like almost sleep together, but she's like, I can't do this. Like, I can't do this yet. I'm not prepared to. Like, I don't forgive you for everything that's going on. And then he gets a phone call from his literary agent who says, dude, this is so crazy. You should write a book about this. You can make so much money. This is wild. And he's like, well, that seems a little bit in poor taste, but I think you're right. That would be a great idea for me to write a book about this. And also, I'm on house arrest in this lake house. Let me just go ahead and do something with my time. So he takes this and he gets like a $10,000 advance for the book. I don't know, man. Don't ask me. Don't look at me like that. I don't know. But he agrees to it. Meanwhile, Sarah is busting her ass still, trying to figure out what the heck is going on. And she's in her office working when Bob, right, the other firm partner guy, rival of hers, shows up and he's like, hey, I don't like all the attention that this case is getting. This is ridiculous. He's like also the PR guy for the firm. And so having all these reporters and stuff like flocking around outside trying to like get photos and interviews and like whatever is like not very good, I guess, for them. Maybe. So he's like, yeah, he's like, I don't like all these people snooping around. I don't like all this attention on this, like, da 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 da. And she's like, oh, shut up, Bob. Okay. And then again, it gets brought up about the third set of DNA and how much it's bothering her. And I swear to freaking God, if you tell me the same information for the 14th time, I'm going to lose my mind. Scott continues to work with Rebecca over the next however much time passes, and she's gathering all this information for him. This is how he finds out about the husband, the first case with the husband and how Scott had showed up. And he's like, well, that's suspicious. Maybe she did do it, or maybe Scott did it, or whatever. If that is the case, right? Like if it was a setup or if she did it or something, then he's like, well, maybe her first husband has some surviving family. And so let's go ahead and compile a list of his surviving family. So Rebecca does, and she comes back and she's like, okay, well, there's these like 3 relatives that are in the near area that could maybe have possibly done it, but really the most promising would be his brother. So he says, okay, cool. Okay, so there's a brother, and I believe the brother's name is Nick Miller. Yeah, Nick Miller. Shout out to New Girl. And so he says, okay, Rebecca, give me a list of every single Nick Miller that lives in Maryland. Maryland? I said Virginia before. Who are they? Where are they at? I don't know. Somewhere. It's all the same thing. It's all the same place. Shut up. I freaking hate the Beltway. I don't know anything about it. It's all just confusing to me. So regardless, he he asks for this list, and he's going to call every single Nick Miller in Maryland and figure out which one is her first husband's brother. I'm not telling you the name of the first husband because I'm not trying to add to this freaking confusion here. So, okay, got it. Cool. So that's his like life mission going forward, is to make all these phone calls. Sarah, after talking at the cafe and getting this information about Jesse, goes to talk to the sheriff and say, hey, I think he might be like somebody to look into. And the sheriff is a little bit standoffish toward her. Like, he's being kind of weird. He's being cordial still, but he's just a little different than he was previously. So she's like kind of clocking it, but okay. So they move on trying to figure out about Jesse. And there's like so much flip-flopping in this particular section, because then it goes back to Adam calling all of these guys. And as far as he's concerned, he's like, well, it must have been this person or Scott that had sent the threatening like photo and note thing. Like, maybe that's all, this is all tied together. And I'm like, no shit. What do you mean? Again, why are you telling me stuff that like we already could piece together as common sense, or that has already been like insinuated? Why would you think that it would be from somebody different? I mean, we'll talk about it later, but I'm like, I just like some of the stuff that got said in this book and the way that it got phrased. And also, I want to be very, very clear. I am leaving out pieces of information, like the crumb trail, or the bread trail, crumb trail, hello, that this author tried to put in this book was so overt that it was infuriating. And so I'm leaving out quite a bit of information to leave an air of mystery with you as I'm telling this story. But anyway, and then again, we flip-flop immediately back to Sarah, and she's watching Jesse's interrogation. The sheriff is interrogating him. And there's just some weird banter between the two of them, and it seems like there's a power play going on. But Jesse makes a comment toward the end about how he's like, no, we were close. I was close with Jenna. Yeah. Or Kelly, or whatever the hell her name was around this time. And the sheriff is like, oh yeah, were you friends? Yeah, you saw her often? He says, yeah, I saw her with a cop all the time. They're like, yeah. Her husband was a cop. Just weird tension power play going on. But before she can really unpack it and keep an eye on what's going on between these two, her phone is blowing up. And so she looks at it, and she gets a text from Anna telling her that Adam spent $10,000 at a mattress store, which never gets talked about, by the way. We never address that fact. I'm assuming he bought a mattress with to replace the bloodied one. But I don't know why that took so long, because we're like 2 weeks in the future now. So then I'm like, so why is that not talked about ever? I don't think that I can remember anyway. So he tells her about that, and this like weird money being spent, that he has made like 47 phone calls in the last 48 hours. And also that there's this like weird mystery woman that's coming in and out of the house a whole bunch. She says, got it. Thanks. Because she has Anna keeping an eye on him, because obviously this man cannot be trusted to like take care of himself. And anyway, Adam's POV, Sarah comes to the lake house and she says, hey, what the frick are you doing, dude? What is happening right now? And he's like, you're not even trying. You don't even care about me. You're not even looking into everything. No, we're looking into Jesse. You know, the guy from the thing with the text message. Rebecca's a dead end. Like, she's giving you a dead end thing looking into the first husband's family. The cops already did that, and they said it wasn't worth your time. And also, she confronts him about the $10,000, and she's like, you're spending my money? And he's like, what happened to our money? We're married, right? You said it was our money. And then she's like, not when you're doing all this shit. It's not our money. And he's like, well, it was my money anyway, because I got the book deal and I got the advance for the book and blah, 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 blah. And then she's like, what the fuck do you mean you're writing a book about this? Storms out. Understandably so. Third, DNA is not a match for Jesse. So we can rule that one out, at least partially. Yet again, I have a chapter that just says quotes. So while he continues to dial this list and like call through all of these people, Rebecca comes to the house. She's compiled like the 3 nearest relatives. Yeah, so each one that is related to the first husband who lives in the area. There's a cousin, a brother, and then an ex-fiance. And he's like, I don't know about any of these people, but compiled in it, there's like photos of each of them, right? There's like photos, a little dossier, you know what I mean? There's a little bit of information. There's a little bit of photos of whatever. And so he's like looking at all three of these pictures pretty intently, trying to figure this out. And as he's doing so, Rebecca is flipping through some of the files and some of the things that Sarah had brought over, because as much as Adam is doing crazy stuff, she did bring him some stuff so that he could look into and like use his time maybe more effectively to like research into his own case. And so he brought him over some information. So Rebecca's flipping through it and she notices there's like a handwritten note on top of the box. And then there's the handwritten note that was the threatening picture, and the handwriting matches. And in that moment of the realization that this handwriting matches, come to find out it's Anna's. Sarah's assistant took that photo and wrote the threatening message of the end it or I will. He, realizing this, is like, that effing Beezy, she's crazy, she's obsessed with my wife and she wants her all to herself. I can't believe I didn't think of this sooner. Of course it's Anna. Huh? So he steals Rebecca's car keys and drives across the city. Again, on house arrest, active ankle monitor, steals her keys, makes a run for it, drives straight to the law firm to confront Anna and whoever. So Sarah, Bob, the DA, and Matthew, I'm not sure why. Again, Matthew, this random friend guy, shows up in all of these, and I'm not sure why they're meeting with the DA, but they are. So they're in a conference room at the law firm, having a little chit chat, when suddenly they're screaming out in the hallway. Adam had showed up. He is yelling belligerently, accusing Anna of all of this stuff. Bob ends up punching him in the face because he lunges after Anna. And then after Bob punches him, he's on the floor. All of a sudden, the cops bust through the door, right? The sheriff, Scott, the husband, widowed guy, and then the partner. They all rush through the door and they're like, what the heck is going on? You got like this escaped convict on the thing. So they're trying to like get the situation settled. And so he starts screaming at them and he's like, no, Anna did it. Anna killed her. I know she did. And so then Scott immediately starts to arrest Anna. And the lawyers who are present in this situation are saying, what the frick are you doing, dude? You can't just arrest some random woman based off of this guy's like accusations. Like, that's not appropriate. And then all of a sudden, he on the floor, in the haze of all of this, finally recovered from being punched in the face, is like looking around at this crowd. And he's looking at Bob. And he's like, dude, this guy looks so freaking familiar. This guy looks so familiar. And he realizes that is one of the photographs that he was looking at. That is one of the 3 people folder dossier things that Rebecca had written for him. Bob is Nicholas Robert Miller. He is Kelly/Jenna's first husband's brother. Yeah. Do the math on that one. That is a crazy tree of how we got here. So then all of a sudden, Scott stops arresting Anna and then instead starts to attack Bob and starts beating him up. Can somebody control this man? What do you mean? Why is he even on this case? Why is he even showing up to any of this stuff? You're in DC, for Christ's sake. You're telling me your thing's that small? And I thought we were going across state lines. What is the jurisdiction here? What are we working with? I don't care, don't tell me. But like, what do you need? It's fine. I don't even know why I bother. We only have 20 chapters left, though. This is going pretty quick. So obviously, the shenanigans ends at the police station with, oh, is it Anne? I've been saying Anna. Anne. What the frick ever, dude? Because then there's Jenna. There's so many names. Honest to God, I want to cry at how many names there were in this book, okay? So if I've been messing it up, I'm so sorry. Hopefully the little name list has been helpful to you and you can just, I don't know, ignore me being a crazy head. Regardless, Adam is back under arrest. He is in an interrogation room. Bob and Anna has volunteered for questioning, right? Just to like be helpful because they know that they didn't do anything. And so they're like, yeah, you can ask me whatever you want. And they stagger the interrogations so Sarah can watch each of these. In the meantime, Adam's mom, this is crazy. Adam's mom is pissed at her because she's like, you got my baby arrested again and this is all your fault and I can't believe you would do all this to him and like, you're such a freaking Terrible wife and terrible person. She says, there shouldn't even be a case. He's innocent, but now he's going to face charge for assault and bail jumping because you couldn't keep an eye on him. Eleanor, just stop. You're being ridiculous. I shake my head. Am I? You couldn't even keep an eye on your own mother, and look what happened to her. The corners of her mouth curve into a grin as if she's pleased with her little comment. Anne lets out an audible gasp. Bob shifts uncomfortably in his seat. Matthew half stands. I would love to bash her skull into the ground over and over again until I see brain, if she even has one, but I don't need to defend myself for murder as well. I have to put an end to Eleanor's involvement in this case and in my life, and I know just what to say. I take a deep breath. Your son is a liar, a cheater, and possibly a murderer. Your coddling and over-the-top mothering has gotten Adam into this mess. The best thing that you could do as a mother is to take note from mine and kill yourself. Jesus Christ. Keep in mind, this is like the second time I've read this book, and I still had like an audible gasp. Every time I see that line, I say, oh my God. Good Lord. So that's after the questioning that occurs, obviously, between Anne and Bob. So the questioning of both of them goes by pretty quickly. Anne is obviously clearly innocent. She didn't do anything. It was just, she was trying to protect her friend and getting him to quit. Sarah's pissed off that Anne didn't tell her sooner, and so she doesn't really trust her anymore, but she also doesn't think that Anne murdered anybody either, so like she's fine for that in that regard. Bob's questioning kind of goes sideways when all of a sudden the sheriff, is doing the questioning and starts bringing up the whole dead brother card and like talking crap to this guy about his dead brother, to the point that Bob storms out of the room because he's there voluntarily, right? He can storm out if he wants to. And he's like, so inappropriate, which I know, right? You're trying to like get a reaction out of them to get them to confess something maybe, but like it just seemed wildly inappropriate. All of this is happening. Adam, in his cell, Scott shows back up. The widowed cop husband shows back up and he says, hey man, I don't think you did this, and I know you said this stuff about Anne and about Bob, and I believe you. I don't think you did this. I think that there's some other shenanigans afoot. It's my favorite saying, by the way. Like, tell me everything you know. So he does. Gives him all the lowdown about why he thinks Anne and Bob did something. Even goes on to tell him about Rebecca. And then Scott leaves the room and he immediately regrets it because he's like, well, what if this was all just a front and Scott didn't mean this and maybe he really is the killer and now he's going to go and kill Rebecca. Oh my God, I can't believe this. I just put her in danger. Okay, so he's going to sit on that one for a little while. And we cut back to Sarah after all of this shenanigans and like kind of during some of the questioning. And I honestly, the timeline is like so muddy and my notes aren't the best for this section, but you're getting kind of the highlights of what's going on, right? All the questioning and blah, blah, blah that's happening. She's also reflecting on her life after this comment from Eleanor. And she's thinking about her father had died when she was young. Her father was the breadwinner. And so then her mom had turned to like illegal activities to get money to support her and her daughter, ended up getting addicted to some hard drugs, went sideways really, really bad, got into a really, really bad scene. And there was obviously just a lot of like not good feelings between her and her mother. And on her 16th birthday, she walks into the hotel room because they don't have an actual house. They just bounce between hotels and shelters and whatnot. Walks into the hotel room and her mom has overdosed, and she says that this was her mother's gift to her, and how good of a gift that it was is kind of the insinuation. Okay. So on that info dump, Adam realizes that Scott didn't shut the door all the way, and so he decides he's going to escape. He needs to go and find Rebecca. He's worried about her. Maybe Scott will actually hurt her or something, or maybe there's some other stuff going on and like I need to go and find her. So he breaks out, and this begins the most like pathetic, self-pitying thing that I've ever read. It made me so like belligerently angry hearing the way that this man spoke that I'm gonna have to pull up the quote for you because I was like literally, I was listening while I was driving and I was like losing my freaking mind about this. As I continued to tread, I noticed that my hands are caked in dry mud. The patina begins to crack and shed itself into slow falling helix of flakes. My own dirty Hansel and Gretel trail, I think. And then I look back and realize that dirt falling into dirt leaves no trail. From time to time, I flinch as a large drop of water, having pooled in the leaves high above, catches the back of my neck. The subtle reminder doesn't let me forget how weak and cold and alone I am. I look up into the canopy to search for some sort of illumination and warmth, but this is blocked by the very leaves that are crying upon me. This is so stupid. They deny me any such respite, but continue to point their arms away, encouraging me to do no more than leave them alone. After the most lonely and miserable walk I've ever taken, I begin to hear a steadier roar of traffic and blah, blah, blah. It's just like stupid. That's all I'm gonna say. I just like, it was so frustrating to read that. So he's pity partying through the woods. He ends up like spending the night there, huddled under some log. I don't care. Sarah, hey, you know how earlier I said I was going to lose my mind? She's still tripping over the third set of DNA. The third set of DNA. How many times does this get said? Hold on. Third set of DNA. So this, like, no shit, direct quote, third set of DNA gets said 28 times. 28 times. This particular time, it gets said because she's texting a list of names to Matthew and she says, hey, I need you to get DNA from these men on this list. Yeah, I know it's inadmissible in court. This isn't legit. I know, but I need to know who this is and I'll make it admissible. Just figure out who the heck this is. He says, aye, boss lady. Adam, fully on the run, ends up going to like a convenience store and talks the cashier into letting him borrow his phone. And he somehow remembers Rebecca's phone number. I don't know, remembers it, gives her a call. She doesn't pick up, calls his mom. Mom says, oh my God, baby, I'm so glad to hear from you. I'm so glad you broke out of jail. You don't belong there anyway. Yeah, I'll get you some money. Blah, 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 blah. And then he's thinking, and he's like, oh man, so Rebecca kind of described and told me where she lived before. Maybe I can just go find it. So he goes walking around and just goes to this like neighborhood that maybe she might have mentioned one time. And then he's like, yeah, hopefully her car's outside so that way I'm able to find her. And then he does. And then he's just like banging on her door late at night, like beating it down essentially. Eventually she answers, her hair's wet, she's in a towel, very clearly out of the shower, and she is terrified when she sees him. She's like, what are you doing here? Like, what is even happening right now? He comes inside, he's noting constantly, repeatedly how afraid she looks. And he's like, no, don't worry, like, I had to see you and make sure you were okay, and blah, blah, blah. And then he kisses her? He kisses her? Okay, it's fine, I guess. I mean, I don't know why I'm acting like I'm surprised right now, but like, I kind of am. And then there's like red and blue lights because she had called the cops because she didn't know that it was him busting down her door. Understandable. So then the cops show up and he gets re-arrested. I don't know. We have like 5 chapters left, okay? Stick with me. Sarah, working, vibing, hanging out. Bob comes in. And he's like, hey, I just want you to know the cops cleared me. Like, I had an airtight alibi. Like, they're done questioning me. And she says, okay, why do I care? And he says, I wanted you to know, I wanted to make sure that we're on the same page. Like, we're on the same team, And then she gets a phone call about Adam's escape and how he was subsequently found. And now he's back in jail. And so, yet again, she heads to the police station to go and deal with this incredibly stupid and impulsive man. She goes to the police station, understandably berates him for the escape and being stupid and all this other stuff, and then him tripping over Rebecca because she's like, hey, dipshit, Rebecca is a private investigator that Scott hired. Oh, she was playing you the whole time, dummy. And he's like, I can't believe that. I don't think that's true. And she's like, it is. Behave yourself. So now he has to stay in jail. Like, he has lost his right to be on house arrest, right? So she just says, behave until the court date. Okay. Following chapter, Sarah, 59, by the way. Sarah finally gets the results from Matthew. The DNA was a match to one of the people that she sent on the list. And she sees it and she's like, I knew it. She smiles. We're not told who it is. Chapter 60, the trial begins. And really, it's again just repeated for the 87th time in case anybody was missing it. The 3 pillars that they're like going to try to give a reasonable doubt on is based on Scott being abusive and Scott's text messages, on the first husband's family potentially getting revenge, and on Jesse. Okay, that's fine. They go through the trial. Literally all we hear is the opening statements, and I don't care to tell you about it. And so we get that, cut to the following chapter, and the verdict's already in, like obscenely fast. They thought that this would take a couple of weeks or something. No, like hours. Like the jury knew immediately, which is not very good, typically. They go back into court, and the chapter ends on a cliffhanger. We, the jury, find the defendant, ... Will we ever know? Chapter 62. It's 11 years later, and it's the day of the execution. Uh-oh. Sarah and Adam are given 10 minutes to talk before so. And there's a lot of weird tension between them. She, from her point of view in this chapter, is being very robotic, and she's like squeezing his hand supportively like every 60 seconds, has it like down to a math as she's like watching the clock behind him as he's talking and, you know, pouring his heart out and being like, I never gave up on us. And, you know, do you think that things would have been different? And, you know, ba-da-da. And she's like so over it and doesn't want to be there. And he just had always refused to sign the divorce papers, which at some point I'm like, I'm pretty sure you don't like need his signature, especially if he's in jail. I'm like pretty sure that there's like some stuff around that, like prison, like convicted of crime. Like I'm pretty sure that you can like kind of bypass that requirement at some point, right? Then we get it from Adam's point of view, and Adam is picking up on her distance and the roboticness and this like 1,000-yard stare that she kind of has going on. And time's up, the guard says as he re-enters. He smacks his gun loudly and is purposefully not looking at either of us to convey his disinterest. She squeezes my hand for the 10th time. I squeeze back. She stands up. Goodbye, Adam. For what it's worth. She walks around the table to my side, and she plants a soft kiss on the side of my cheek. Then she leans in, whispering into my ear, I know for a fact that it wasn't you. I turn and look at her. She's smiling at me with no teeth, a sinister upturn plastered across her face. There's a fire burning in her eye that I've never before seen, not in a human, at least. What does that mean? My mind starts racing, trying to piece together what I just heard. Sarah, what do you mean? Who was it then? If you know, you have to tell me. You have to get me out of here. Sarah! I scream for an answer. The guard grabs me by my shoulders. Sarah keeps staring at me with that fucking smile. Adam, you will spend the rest of your very brief life thinking about me, and I want you to know that I will never think about you ever again. And just like that, she leaves, a cloud of hate and toxicity still hanging in the air. And then he gets executed. I'm gonna redo this last bit, okay? So I feel numb at first and I think I might fall asleep, but soon I begin to flail and squirm, and then a stabbing heat starts to rip through my organs and I scream, and then suddenly it stops. Everything stops. I see nothing but a black canvas with the tiniest holes punched in it, a white light growing from the center out like an old tube television warming itself up. Images start to appear. Images of Sarah, meeting her, loving her, marrying her, watching her, and then everything I missed. They're almost like deleted scenes of a film, except I didn't delete them. I just didn't pay any attention. Her planning, her plotting, her calculating my demise. Sarah controlled everything in her life, me included. I underestimated her like I did so many times before. This time, it was just one too many. The images fade and then go black. Sarah is my last thought, my last image. She was white. Talk about killing a moment. She was right about everything. Absolutely everything. Sarah is there watching the execution. So is Eleanor. She goes and sits with her, you know, holds her hand and like squeezes it, and then she leaves afterward. They don't really exchange much of a word, but kind of an apology, kind of like a truce between the two of them. They haven't talked at all since he went to prison. I don't know. I don't care. So she leaves and gets a text message from Matthew talking about how he can't wait to walk her down the aisle tomorrow, because since he always refused to sign the divorce papers, she's been a married woman. But as of today, her husband is dead, and so she's going to get married tomorrow. Sorry. And hold on, I need to go through this. I need to I just need to read you all of this. I may not have been the most honest person. Not to Adam, not to Anne, not to Matthew, not to Sheriff Stevens, not to any of them. But I'll be honest with myself. Timing is everything, and I timed everything out perfectly. Adam always thought he was so smart, so well-read, the deep one, the introspective one, the warrior for justice and art and everything in between, and he was all of those things. He just assumed that I wasn't watching, and he was wrong. I learned about Kelly and Adam long before she took her final breath. Bob had approached me with evidence of Adam's infidelities, which he had come across because he was looking to destroy Kelly's life after what she did to his poor brother. He thought he would kill two birds with one stone, that he'd blackmail me into resigning out of embarrassment, or at the very least, that I would lose focus so he could swoop in and get my partnership while taking down Kelly at the same time. He was wrong, too, when he brought this to my attention. My reaction was nothing like what he expected, but more than he could have ever hoped for. We decided to kill Kelly and frame Adam. After all, they did have it coming. Bob was out of town when she was killed to ensure when the connection between him and Kelly was found out, he would have an alibi. I didn't want any loose ends. We thought about hiring someone to do it, but like I just said about loose ends, there was only one person that I could trust to do it and to do it perfectly. It's like they say, sometimes if you want something done right, well, I wasn't pleased to learn that that Anne knew Adam was cheating on me. As soon as I discovered the photo in Adam's desk, I knew it was her behind it. You think I wouldn't recognize my own assistant's handwriting? I ultimately did end up forgiving her and letting it all go. After all, we were both each other's alibis. That night we went out of town. She didn't keep track of time or her own alcohol intake, and why would she? She idolized me. I was everything she aspired to be. Time with me was like gold to her. I knew that. I counted on it. Jesus Christ. I also knew all of Adam's vices, and besides young pussy and self-loathing, his next favorite was scotch. Putting a handful of roofies in the decanter was as easy as, well, Kelly. Jesus Christ. Sorry, I know I keep saying that, but like, the way, like, this is, yeah. Anyway, with them both completely out for the evening, their memories on pause, all I needed was a quick detour from the bar at 10 p.m. and a sharp knife. It was simple, like punching holes in a box so the animal inside can have their air to breathe, but the opposite in this case. Adam thought he was so smart. He thought Jesse was a real suspect. I knew Jesse was just a creep who was overly infatuated with Kelly, but following up on Jesse made it look like I was actually working on the case. Jesse was my decoy, but just a way to look busy when in reality, I was just waiting for everything I put in motion to play out. That third set of DNA threw me for a loop, I will admit. It was honestly really starting to piss me off that I couldn't figure out whose it was. Turns out, it was Sheriff Stevens. And she knew this and got suspicious of this when he said that there was no roofies in the decanter. Because she was like, yes, there was. I know for a fact that there was. Like, he's trying to hide. He's trying to hide something. Like, he's doing some weird stuff on the side, too. Like, there's some, again, fuckery afoot. Rebecca was hired by Bob as a private investigator to like kind of lead Adam on and be crazy and like a distraction for him and whatnot. And then Scott Summers, the cop husband guy, was his own problem and took care of himself. Like they didn't actually have to do anything with that one. And he also just like left and disappeared on his own accord after the fact because, hey, turns out maybe the evidence that he might have botched the first husband's murder on purpose is a little sketchy, and so he just left. I don't know. I'll never know what really happened between Kelly and her first husband or Kelly and her second. Was she a victim of the men in her life? Was she abused, or was she a girl who cried wolf? I'll never know, and neither will anyone else. Oh, so you potentially, admittedly, understandably, just like ended the life of a woman who continued to face horrible men, potentially. Oh, cool. Awesome. And then it's literally just like more and more of her talking about the stabbing of Kelly, and there's always casualties in war, and Kelly was just that. A divorce would have given Adam half of everything I own, and he didn't deserve that. He didn't deserve me. I vowed to never be like my mother. Allowing any man to take what I had earned and what I had worked hard for would make me just as weak as she was. In the end, Adam got what he deserved. And so she finally gets to the car after leaving the prison, and Bob is there. Bob is her fiance who she's going to marry tomorrow, and there's a like 8-year-old kid in the back seat, and turns out she's pregnant with another one. Oh. And then our like very last thing, she looks in the back seat at her 8-year-old, and she's like, God, this is so dumb, dude. She's a spitting image of Bob and me, perfect in every way, and I vowed when I found out I was pregnant that I would never make any of the same mistakes my mother made. Summer, I won't have to save Summer, you named her Summer, won't have to save herself from me, like I had to save myself from my mother. My mom didn't end her life in a technical sense. One needle with her tolerance wouldn't do it, but the other 3 that I stuck in her arm would. She was killing herself a little every day. I just helped speed up the process. I'll never put my daughter in that position. And the book ends. And the book ends. Yeah. Cool, I guess. I don't know, dude. What do you want from me? I just thought it was dumb. Yes, was it good? Like, with the twists and stuff? Sure, I guess. The mom reveal at the end was a little crazy. But then I'm like, do we just, like, do surprise twists just to do them? Does it serve a plot purpose? I guess in that one, it kind of relates to the fact of her having beef with, like, the like overbearing mom. Like, we got the two extremes of moms throughout the entirety of the book, and so then to have the, like, I guess kind of that reveal at the end, and also like help support her of a character of her like hyper independence and stuff, like it definitely provides a good depth of character in that regard to like her dedication of like work and, like I said, independence, and also for Adams being coddled and like not just being a mama's boy. I mean, it wasn't bad. I think it's just the writing was bad. Like, the writing quality was just, like, not there, in my opinion. The plot itself, I think, was interesting enough. I left out, like I said, I left out a lot of things that, like, were hitting you over the head about, like, the red herrings. Not, like, the plot twist itself, but, like, you got so much, like, over information about the red herrings that it started to get, like, really, really annoying. And then you just, like, randomly drop the actual twist at the end. It was just kind of interesting. And a choice to be made? I don't know. I'm like, meh, about the whole thing. Like, my summary is like, probably like a 2.5. I'd probably give it like a solid 3. Wasn't anything great, wasn't anything bad, but the writing quality was pretty garbo, so I'd probably say like 2.5. If I was being like critical in my rating, I would say probably 2.5. Yeah, I think that's all I got. And also, don't worry, little freaks, I know that you want to hear the rest of the Housemaid series. I have notes on books 2 and 3. That's coming shortly, I promise. So is Animal Farm by George Orwell. I am picking up my casual classics. I know I keep saying that. I know. Don't yell at me. I have the notes for it, though, and I have it all highlighted. I literally have it right here next to me. So that's coming soon. I need to find other books, like not thrillers. I need to like do something else too, but I'm not really sure what. I haven't really seen anything. So if you have any recommendations, in the description box below, I have a Google form if you want to throw some suggestions in there. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I have anything else to say. So thanks so much for listening. I appreciate you so much, especially if you made it to this point in the video. You are phenomenal, and I love you guys so much. I'm so beyond grateful for each and every single one of you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.